One of our favorite episodes ever. Do you or someone you know have a fear of flying? We bring on a psychologist to discuss anxiety and how to get over it in this re-edited, reposted episode of In the Hangar.
Hi, I'm Dan Milliken.
And I'm Christy Wong.
That's good. So, we are here to talk about fear and anxiety, like when the camera hits you and you freeze. So with us is Dr. Jeremiah Riggins. Jeremiah, tell us a little bit about you and your background, your specialty, and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a clinical psychologist, and I specialize in traumatic stress disorders, anxiety, and depression. Those are the primary things that I work with.
In aviation, you have the very public, like, I hate to fly from a passenger. Let's first talk about that fear and anxiety of just flying commercially. What's going on in somebody who has, the white knuckle flyer?
Yeah, so it can be different things. So some people have the classic fear of heights, right? Up in the sky, don't like to be up in the sky. What you commonly see though is that sensation of being trapped. And so what people do is you get in the cockpit, you get inside there, I'm trapped. It feels like a dangerous situation. I can't escape. Now where do I go? Now I'm stuck with the anxiety and I can't escape. So a lot of times it's that fear of escape, just a fear of the unknown. That's what we typically see with people who have flying anxiety.
Is that kind of like root down to control? Like I don't have control over it? Or?
Yeah, it certainly can be control issues, definitely. Depending on where that anxiety originated. Some people may have some kind of trauma related to flying. Maybe they had an accident at some point, something bad happened, something went wrong. That can be part of it, but yeah, control definitely can play a part of that anxiety.
What about the anxiety? Because what I typically talk to people about, and I hear feedback from others, is, oh, I'm just afraid something's going to happen. I get in the airplane. What if the wing falls off? What if this? What if we crash? Where does that come from?
It's probably still part of that control, but it's also like it's media, news, things like that. So think about what in terms of the common person, what they're digesting in terms of aviation. They're probably not picking up whatever aviation books you have and reading those. They're going to hear about it in the news. They're going to hear about it in media, movies, things like that. And when you think about what we're kind of inundated with on a daily basis, it's not the feel-good stories. It's the airplane wing tore off, it blew up, something bad happened. That's what you're inundated with.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you started, one thing that was interesting is, and we were talking about it before the show, the probability versus possibility. Explain that.
Yeah, so when it comes back to the more the treatment side or managing that anxiety side of things, one of the things we work with is helping people to kind of walk themselves through it logically, rationally, because a lot of these fears, when it boils down to it, it's pretty irrational. Like, how likely is it that the wing's going to tear off of the plane?
It's not.
Yeah, it's not all that likely. Is it a possibility? Sure. And so when you look at the possible ways that something could happen in an airplane, it's nearly infinite, right? Mm-hmm. So there's probably a near infinite number of ways that something could go wrong. But the probability of any one of those things going wrong is not all that likely. And as we start to stack things happening, that probability actually gets less and less. So the probability of an accident may be here, but the probability of having an accident, the plane crashing, it bursting into flames, and everybody burning to death is even lower than there being some kind of an accident.
I thought what you said earlier too was interesting. It's about what people are inundated with, what people internalize as dangerous. Mm-hmm. So I liken it to when I was a teenager and I started driving, I was fine driving on the surface streets and the roads, but don't ask me to drive on the freeway. And then I started driving on the freeway, and as I got that experience, it was like, oh, okay, this isn't so bad. Even though you hear every single day on the news, there's a crash here, a crash here, a crash on this road or this freeway. And so, but now it's like you get on the freeway, it's no big deal. And I think you're more likely to die driving to the airport than you would getting in the airplane and going somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's that possibility versus probability again.
Sure, and it gets at another piece in there too, which is another part of treatment, is one is rationalizing through it cognitively. So it's not all that dangerous, nothing's going to happen, this is a safe place, this person's flown this airplane how many ever times, it's going to be, so there's a cognitive piece to it. But what you're talking about there is kind of the habituation piece. So you start out driving on the side streets, right? First, it's anxiety provoking. Then you get, it's no big deal. I've done this 800 times. Now you're on the freeway. Oh, nervous, nervous, nervous. Do it 800 times, not a big deal. And so part of helping people get past that anxiety is you just got to get them to do it.
So,
well, that brings up a great point, because as pilots, we train for emergencies that are low on the probability, but that we need to be prepared for. We're in a single engine plane. We need to plan for that engine to go out. I certainly don't have 10, 20, 500 engine failures. And even practicing them isn't the same thing as the real thing. So what can we do as pilots to deal with the low probability emergencies that we do have to train for?
Yeah, so I think nothing substitutes for training at the end of the day. So if we could put you in like some kind of a simulator or get you up in a plane where the engine could go out, and we could do that over and over and over and over, that's best case scenario, right? If that ever happens to you, that's best case scenario. But what you can do is you can build mental models for that situation, so you can review it in your head. So it's kind of sitting down and going like, your checklist, what if this happens, what do you do? And it's kind of playing a game in your head, right? So if the engine goes out, what would I do? I do this, this, and this, right? And then move on to another one. Well, what if this happened? I'd do this, this, and this. And I don't mean while you're up there flying, but I mean...
Well, we could, long cross country, we're sitting there,
sure.
Autopilot's on, we're just sitting back anyway doing this.
Yep.
We could, go, okay, the engine just went out, what am I gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna grab this and go through it. That's a great idea.
Absolutely.
Well, and hangar flying or chair flying is actually really beneficial too, because you're building that muscle memory. So, but here's my question for you. So I just got my flight instructor certification, and I'm going to be working with primary students. And one of the things that I need to be aware of is people either wanting to come into aviation and being scared, or people that may already be in aviation and have some of that anxiety. What can I do as a flight instructor, I guess, to kind of help walk them through that?
Yeah, so I think being kind of upfront with the information and letting them know, hey, this is what flying is, this is what's going to happen, and so you're building that mental model for them. This is what the flight's going to be like. So now they have an idea, start to finish, is what it's going to look like. But really, if you have anxiety, there's no substitute for getting them in whatever the anxiety-provoking situation is and letting them get to the other side of it.
Okay.
So while you're in it, right, you've got that buildup of all those stress hormones in your system, but the second that you land, what happens to those hormones? They go down, right? And then our body starts to convert that into, for a lot of people, it converts it into a pleasurable experience.
Yeah, like
right?
Landings. I mean, honestly, that's probably the number one example that I can give. I mean, I was probably 17, 20 hours in, and I was so anxiety ridden over landings. I couldn't get it. I almost walked away from my pilot training because I just couldn't, I just couldn't get it. And then when I finally did, it was like something clicked. So I got to the other side, it became pleasurable. And then I went to Denton and I literally did 17 touch and goes back to back. Like afterwards, like I can land the thing. And and then I soloed like the next week. So, I absolutely agree with that.
For most people, is it going to be like that? That when you have an anxiety, a fear, that you can just power through it, and there will be a point where, boom, it'll switch off like you flipped a switch?
Yeah, it will be, but so you're going to have a different collection of people coming in. Some people you can grab them by the feet and drag them, and you're not getting them in the plane. Like they're just not going to get in the plane.
I know somebody like that.
Yeah, I can give you 1,000 different strategies. They are not going to get in that plane. But if you can get somebody to get into the plane, then yeah, we can power through that. And if there's something specific that they're afraid of, okay, we ease into that piece, right? As opposed to like throwing them into it and flooding them with it right away. With a plane, you're probably going to have to do some of that. But if you can get them in the plane and get at least a 30-minute flight, 30 to 45, absolutely.
Just baby step them into it is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
And in your mind, you would think, okay, short little flights. Let's get them a short little flight, and that'll get them over it. Sometimes actually the longer flight will do better, because what you want is to give them time for their anxiety to go down. So if you allow them to get out of the situation while they're still at a 10, so like 0 to 10, and 10 is like, I'm going to die. If you let them out of the situation at a 10, it actually increases their anxiety the next time. You want them out of the plane at a 5.
Okay.
You want their anxiety to go down a little bit and let them get out once the anxiety goes down.
Is there a good way to gauge when they're, I mean, obviously if they're at a 10 and they're like a feral cat in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Right. When there's claw marks on the ceiling, that's probably the 10.
Right. But when they've come down to like a 6 or an 8, say, is there a good indicator for us to kind of visualize that?
Yeah, I mean, you can just see it in the body, right?
Okay.
You know, they stop shaking, you stop holding on to the, you know, whatever you're holding on to. They start to converse with you, even conversing with them helps. But if any, and you can, you know, you can listen to it verbally. So if they're going like, you got to get me down on the ground, you got to get me down on the ground. Like, I mean, you should probably respect that at some level. But again, if they exit at that 10, it's going to be that much harder to get them back in at the next time. But if they exit at that 5, they've learned that the situation isn't going to overwhelm me, it's not going to kill me, and you've started what we call habituation. So it's the skunk effect, right? You run over the skunk in the car and you're like, oh, that smells terrible. But 5 miles down the road, you can't smell it. And then you get to where you're going and everybody's like, oh, you smell horrible, right? So it's anxiety. Our body is designed to habituate. It's designed to look for balance, right? So it'll push that down. Your anxiety will naturally go down on its own. You don't have to do anything. The body can't take being at a 10 all the time, so it'll push it down. So as they get that reinforcement from going down, they're going to be much more likely to get back in the next time.
Okay.
Okay, so the person who does have a huge fear of flying but wants to fly, it's important to get them up there and to power past that point where they've hit the 10 and they've come back down. Is that what you're saying? Or pull them out when they're on the way up?
No. So let them. So they're probably going to hit a 10 as soon as you take off. Like as soon as you start flying, they're gonna hit that peak quick probably. When it starts to come back down, that's when you want to, you know, kind of coach them through that. Like, let your anxiety go down a little bit. We're gonna land. Everything's safe. Everything's fine. And when that anxiety goes down a little bit, then that's when you kind of, I mean, don't hold them in the cockpit, of course.
Right.
But that's when that's going to be the optimal, is when their anxiety starts to go down a little bit, then they get out.
Yeah, and I think talking them through it too, just as we're having this conversation, I'm thinking of things I could do for my future students. Like, okay, so this is what to expect. We took off. All right, it's a little gusty, you know, flying out. That's perfectly normal. This is normal.
Yep.
You know, so if there is like a sound or a bump or this or that, just reassuring them over and over again.
I vividly remember first lesson, I think, maybe second, but it was one of the first lessons. We took off, and the first time we hit a little bit of thermal turbulence. You know, having not ever experienced that, I'm like, I thought the plane was coming apart. And it was just a little bump, but it's like, yeah, I hadn't experienced that. But the CFI is there to tell me, oh, that's just, he said that we just went over a parking lot, there's some heat waving coming up off. Oh, okay. It made sense. Even it may not be true because we were at 5,000 feet. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we had just gone over this huge shopping center parking lot. So, but it helped me a lot. And the first time we had to perform a stall, you know, do you remember that for you?
Yes.
Okay, I can tell by your body language that we have some fear and anxiety there.
Oh, I've got some great videos of my first spins.
I remember I've seen the spin videos. You had a little bit of anxiety. Definitely some feral cat stuff.
And you know what's, there was literally that straight-faced feral cat, like, but I will tell you this, that day I did 11 spins, 11, and they are vastly different from spin number 1 to spin number 11. You go from,
came back off that 10 somewhere a lot lower.
It was the habitual thing, you know? So like spin number 1, I think I'm literally going, nope, I'm not doing this, nope. Yeah, and then I was like, okay, I could do this. All right, let's get back into this. So then we get back into it, and it was like, oh my God, you know? But then by spin 11, you know, probably by spin 3, 4, 5, I was like, all right, I mean, I'm focused and I'm concentrated, but I'm like, all right, I know the steps, all right, and here we go, you know? But it wasn't feral catting like it was, that first one.
So what got you back in? What got you back into doing that again? Like you did it that many times in
instructor who
one day.
said,
no,
I bet
actually,
it wasn't.
no, it was me. I wanted to keep doing it because I wanted the repetition.
I wanted to get through it.
I wanted to get through it. Okay, I can do this. Look at that. I spun an airplane and lived to tell the tale kind of thing. And I did it again and again and again until I started getting comfortable with it. And that's basically what I did. And that's why I did the 17 touch and goes that didn't. Because I was like, all right, I can land the airplane. Let's do it again and again and again. Because I was pushing myself past the point of, you know, because that 10 went from a 10 to a 9, then like an 8.5, and like an 8.3, and then it was like, I mean, it just slowly decreased. So I purposefully I realized if I put myself in those positions, so like I have a really great story with Tamara. Her and Alex did my multi-engine training at Fox Aviation in the Aztec. I wanted to do my training in that airplane because it's a big, beefy, true, it's a conventional twin. When that thing does VMC, like when you do the VMC demo in it, you do the VMC demo in it. And so Tamara and I had a couple of really great lessons where she was cracking up because my reactions, I was like, she's like, all right, as you can see, the airplane's okay. And I'm like, I am not okay. I am not okay. And doing accelerated stalls in an Aztec, also not fun the first time. But as I did it, I obviously got through it. And then I did it on my check ride, and oh my God, I passed. And I'm not recreationally going out and VMCing, a multi-engine plane, but I can do it.
Yeah. So
it was good times.
Well, and I think part of the take home from that too is that you viewed that situation not as something that was going to consume you, or something that you viewed it as a challenge, basically.
Yeah, it was a challenge.
It was something to conquer. It's something in front of you. It's a mountain to climb. It's that next thing in front of you, and that's a big distinguisher between people who hold on to anxiety forever versus people who kind of beat it. If you look at it as a challenge, you're going to move through it much quicker.
They say you fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. I have literally looked at myself in the mirror and been like, you are Christy freaking Wong. You can do this. You can be the airplane, be one with the airplane. You can do this. And then I did.
Yeah.
And I'm a much better person and a much better pilot for it.
Yeah. We call that bear hugging the anxiety. So your body's going like, run away, run away, run away, run away, run away. That's what you do when your sympathetic nervous system gets kicked up. Let's get away, get away, get away.
The fight or flight is real.
But instead, what you did is you went like, this is a challenge. I can take this on. And so you hugged the anxiety and just jump back into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how you beat anxiety.
I was about to say, okay, so that's how you. So for the pilots that are out there that are wannabe pilots, new pilots or even rusty pilots.
We're going to call this the Christy Wong method. So what you're going to do, you're going to hug your anxiety.
There you go.
Bear hug your anxiety.
You're going to bear hug your anxiety.
So that's what you
make it. And then I did it. I was like, all right, like just show me a couple of times, like the VMC demo. I had to be shown that first spin, show me first. And then the second spin was even funnier, I think. Because I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. Okay. All right, Kevin, you've got my back, right? Like, you're following along, right? He's like, and I'm like, Kevin. Like, I literally, like, snapped and I'm like, Kevin. And he's like, no, I'm here. I've got this if I need to be, I had to know that I was going to be okay. I have to see it. Demonstrate it for me first. Model it for me first. Okay, that sucked, but let's go ahead and do it anyway. I am not okay. It's right over there.
Well, and the cool thing about it is, so now you've built a model in the back of your head that kind of sits back there like a program. Yeah. So the next time you're in that situation, that will come back to you instantly.
Yeah.
So stress just boom, it pushes it right back.
So now my biggest anxiety right now as a pilot, I've got a job. I'm flying. I'm a corporate pilot. Oh my God. And I'm starting off flying a Bonanza for a group. I fly them out to East Texas. Well, yesterday was a crap weather day. We were in hard IMC, basically hard clouds, like the entire way. I'm not okay right now. Like seriously, like I kept thinking in my head, like I am not okay. I am not okay. The autopilot's flying, but I'm just thinking, okay, what could go wrong? And why is the airplane turning? Okay, because we hit the fix and because we're on the approach. Okay, that's good. I mean,
because
seriously,
the autopilot's working.
Right, exactly. But like, I guess my biggest fear in all of that is I'm afraid of spatial disorientation. VMC to IMC, IMC is one of the biggest killers.
Right.
We've got Pat Brown, of course, who could talk about that. That's definitely, that's a huge thing. Pilots get into IFR conditions and they don't come out alive because they get disoriented. And disorientation is real. The first couple of times I've done it, I felt like I was turning right and I was like, what the hell's going on? And I look at my instruments and we're straight and level. It was the damnedest thing, especially when you're in not smooth IMC either and you're getting bumped around.
And your brain plays tricks on you.
No, it does.
You have all these cognitive errors.
Inner ear, and I'm getting over some upper respiratory, and so my brain things are doing stuff. And so yesterday we're in this approach. We broke out less than 200 feet above minimums. So so the minimums are 200 feet above the ground. We were 350 feet above the ground when we broke out. I was shaking when we got out of that and got on the ground. I was like, holy shit, I'm alive. I mean, seriously.
Did you
like,
say that to your passenger?
No. No.
I don't recommend that for
No,
your...
so it was well, here's the thing, it was an empty leg anyway, but I didn't say that. And I was I was with another pilot too, because as a new pilot with this operation,
Were you
they
right
had
seat?
somebody. No, I was left seat.
Okay.
So I mean, I did everything I was supposed to do. I just couldn't see outside, and that to me was a terrifying prospect.
See, for me, I have no sweat on that. What happened to me...
Because you're a man.
That's,
You don't know any better.
I don't know any better. That's just gone. So. Wee! All the way down.
We almost died, but Dan didn't let on at all, so I was good.
Now, no matter what you say, you'll never be trusted again. It's all okay.
No,
It's all good.
It's VFR, guys. We're fine. I think the reason why that is, why it's so mentally overloading when you're doing actual approaches like that, is because, when we're, VFR, we've got the runway in sight. We've got mental time to get set up. Like, I see the runway, okay, I've got my whole base and final legs to really get set up for a nice, stable, landing. When you're flying an IMC, you've got seconds. We broke out yesterday, and it was like, oh damn, there's the runway. And so you're literally like, am I, on the path, is everything good? And I mean, you've literally got seconds to make sure that you're set up, correcting for the crosswind and everything. I mean, that's truly like you get mental overload very quickly.
Well, when you put yourself in any kind of an ambiguous situation like that, now you're fighting your internal brain, what your brain's telling you. So if you come up with a hypothesis or an idea of what you think is happening, you're likely to look for evidence to support everything that you think is happening.
Oh, my brain is like, this is a terrible idea. Who thought of it? Why did
I
I
don't
do
think
this?
that. It's not until I'm actually through it and I went, oh crap, that was a terrible idea. That's my problem.
Wow. See, I'm a forward thinker.
It's always when
I prefer not to think at all and to think later. I'm a debriefer.
That's right.
Shit, so we could have died,
When
but
we go through the footage, right? That's when you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
through the mountains
That's
in the
that
dark
forward
or
thinking
whatever.
part.
Yeah.
It's out, gets busy.
That's why women are better at flying than men. There you go.
I went on
Forward
record.
thinker, I'm a debriefer.
Look, yeah, exactly. I went on record. Together, we're like a whole pilot. Like, I went on record and I said it. I said, I think women make better pilots overall. I do. That's just my honest truth. I may have to fly out there. So, Jeremiah, I'm having
had a
some
pl-
anxiety.
we had a
Hey,
plane
do
land in
this.
the parking
Ask
lot.
him if he'll go fly with you.
Would you
I
go?
don't fly.
Yeah, see, I knew that was coming.
So,
It's him and my wife.
so tell me about this,
I get
Jeremiah.
motion sick really easy.
Actually, that can be overcome.
I get motion sick in the Walmart parking lot.
Hug the bear.
So we're gonna
hug the bear.
hug the bear. We're gonna start you off with a half a Dramamine. I bet I can get you over it.
Probably.
You know what? Do you get motion sickness when you drive?
Yeah. When I'm driving, I get motion sick.
Are you freaking kidding
See,
me?
that's and
You're
my
just
wife
a broken person.
I know, it's terrible,
God.
isn't it?
I was gonna say I would take you up and I would actually put you in the left seat and let you drive the airplane for
and
certain
he would
segments.
throw up and keep flying.
Please don't throw up in my airplane. But no, because that actually helps though. That actually helps. When Steve was taking me up,
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
was flying and I was like,
Yeah, I have what 570 hours of flying
I'm
now?
catching up on you.
And I know you are, and she's got 0 of that with me.
I need to take her up.
Yeah, that won't happen.
You don't think so?
It'd be more likely with you than me, but it still won't happen.
That'd be a good debrief afterwards, though. That would be kind of like a good little.
What if I just,
Yeah, we see the claw
Closet.
marks.
what if I just took her up for just a quick little flight to Bridgeport?
Good luck. That'd be great. Because Bridgeport, you're never going to get up above the turbulence on a hot summer afternoon. Oh yeah, she'll
We will-
eat that up.
We'll take her out and
Taxi
Yeah.
on Alpha, then just up and down, start slow.
yeah, Bravo, Alpha 4, Alpha, like
Taxi back now.
You know they have VR for people who have anxiety flying, and they just put the helmet on you, and the chair rocks like you're taking off, and all that stuff.
Well, I don't think we'll get some people up in the plane. We won't get some people to hug the bear. Not Jeremiah, not my wife.
well, thank you for your insight. I mean,
Thank you.
seriously, it's
I enjoyed it.
really beneficial.
So, Dr. Jeremiah Riggins, thank you for coming and being on this show. There you have it. Bear hug your anxiety. If you like the show, please share, subscribe, like, and we thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
In the hangar.